and welcome to the best sleep you're ever gonna have. Tonight I want to take you on a journey, but first let's get comfortable. I want you to find a comfortable spot. Let the gravity of the day wash away. You're wearing something comfortable. Temperature just right. Maybe you're sipping wine right now. Let it all go. Lower your heart rate. Feel the beating of your heart slow. Today we will take a journey in one of the most unique love stories I've ever heard. And if this story resonates with you, it's because at some point everything should have worked out the way you wanted it to. But God knew better. One day, a young man walking through a large field came across a herd of sheep. And in the distance, he saw a shepherd. The shepherd was cloaked like every other shepherd. But something kept his attention. Not knowing what made him curious about this shepherd, he approached. And as he approached, he greeted. And as the shepherd lowered her hood, it revealed a beautiful woman named Rachel. Jacob introduced himself and immediately fell in love. Jacob, being so smitten by Rachel, approached her father, Laban, and they began to negotiate the terms of his ability to marry his daughter. Laban was moved to negotiate, and it wasn't customary to do the thing that Laban decided to do. You see, Laban had two daughters, Rachel and Leah. This is where God enters the story. See, Jacob was the direct lineage that would continue the bloodline of Jesus. So in Jacob and Laban's negotiations, it was determined that Jacob would work for Rachel for a term of 7 years. And Jacob was faithful. He worked the fields, he worked the herds, whatever it was that Laban needed him to do, knowing he would get his prized bride at the end of that 7 years. Nearing the end of that 7-year term, Jacob constructed a tent to be a temporary home for him and his new wife. And at the conclusion of that 7 years, Laban said, "You may now take my daughter as your wife." So as the daughter prepared for their marital night, Jacob completed working and got cleaned up, and he entered their temporary home. No words were spoken. In the act of love, they were then deemed married. Jacob then wakes up the next morning with the full light of the day on his new bride. And Jacob realized this was not Rachel. This was Leah. The story never really determines why Laban tricked Jacob, but God knew. Jacob, frustrated with Laban, still wanted what he wanted. So Laban made him another deal. Work another 7 years, and then you can have Rachel. But then something very mysterious happened. Leah became pregnant with Jacob's child. This child would continue the bloodline that would one day give birth to Jesus. So Jacob worked another 7 years, and he did it just as diligently and honored his word regardless of Laban's behavior. He maintained his integrity and held up to his end of the deal. And at the end of that 7 years, now totaling 14 years, he finally got the woman of his dreams. And everything went according to plan. He enjoyed every moment of the fruits of his labor. Months went by, and Jacob and Rachel grew very close, and they got to enjoy every bit of what matrimony offers a man and a woman. A bond that would never be broken. Except there was a small problem. It would later be found out that Rachel was barren. She did not have the ability to have children. And this saddened Jacob. In that day and age, all men were charged for multiplying, populating the human race, just as their forefathers had with Adam and Eve. But this answered the riddle as to why Laban tricked Jacob. Laban did not know Rachel was barren. Jacob did not know Rachel was barren. Only God knew that Jacob would first have to be married to Leah to bear the child that would carry on the bloodline that would produce Jesus. So what is the summation of this story? What's the conclusion? What's the takeaway? There's no story under the sun that God hasn't written. There's no relationship that hasn't already been built or destroyed in every way imaginable. After Jacob and Laban's broken deal, which tricked him into him marrying Leah first, Jacob could have walked away at that point, angry. But he didn't. He remained grounded in who he was. But God saw to it that his will was done, because if Jacob would have walked, Leah would have still have been bearing child. So when we think we're confused and we don't understand, consider remaining grounded in who you are. And don't let others' actions dictate who you are or who you are about to become. We've all been wronged. We've all been hurt. We've all literally worked as hard as Jacob has worked to earn something, whether it be in a relationship or an occupation, children, relatives, even individual goals. We've all worked to attain the thing that would meet our needs and have been let down. But I challenge you to consider that God's running everything according to His plan. And what we think may have been the best thing for us isn't what would have served His purpose and His plan. At some point, we've all been Jacob. And we all have had the opportunity to destroy something, and in his case would have destroyed the bloodline to who would have been born and eventually saved all of mankind. We make small decisions daily that affect not only our future but others. But in that moment of deceit, Jacob decided to remain grounded in who he was and to honor the deal, regardless of anybody else's actions. And he worked another 7 years and got the bride of his dreams. He remained still emotionally. How many of us can say that amongst deceit and chaos that we can remain still? It's challenging in that moment when your heart is broken and you feel alone. It's no different than somebody working at a job loyally, with integrity, thinking that someday they'll get the reward of a higher position or a raise, financial. And then their boss decides someone else may be more worthy. It's the same way in relationships. No, our partner or our spouse, boyfriend, girlfriend, they are not our boss. But we work hard in those relationships with that same expectation. What if we stopped having expectations? What if you truly had faith that whatever God brought you to at a certain point in time, that he was going to see it through, and it was for his plan? What if you were fully persuaded that no matter what emotion you felt in the moment, that everything was going to work out? Imagine Jacob having a cell phone back then, and Laban, the father of Leah and Rachel, lied to him, and he hopped on Facebook or Instagram or YouTube. Or what if we stopped doing that? What if we put our head down, accept where we're at, and continue to be grounded in who we are? Execute the plan. Keep working hard. Things can change in a blink of an eye. And God only needs one thought, one window opening, one door opening, to reveal to us what his plan is. So I challenge everyone. The very man that came down to save mankind, and we beat him, we executed him. Yet he remains grounded in who he is. Is it any wonder why it's so hard for us to do it? The other side has to pervert that thought. Everyone has to constantly be changing who they are to fit societal terms of success. But where has that gotten us? Are we content to work for our spouse? Are we content to work with our significant other? Or are we merely working for selfish desire? I challenge all of you to let the day fall away. Let the gravity of everything that is holding you down emotionally fall away. Someone else is in charge. You're not. Yes, work hard. Yes, maintain integrity. Say what you mean and mean what you say. But don't underestimate the power of faithfulness, as Jacob was faithful and focused on what it was that he wanted, and God was able to use that to execute his plan. As you lay there in the weightlessness of knowing that your Heavenly Father is carrying you, think to yourself, whatever I'm dealing with, God is in control. Maybe even verbally tell him now, I can't handle this, God, I'm giving this to you. And I promise you, if you say those words and you emotionally release the things that are shackling you to this society and to this earth and your hurt emotions and your unhealed trauma, give those things to God. Verbally announce them and give them to him. It's amazing what that exercise will do. You don't have to carry it anymore. Jacob didn't carry Laban's deceit. He went on to marry the woman of his dreams. What are your dreams? What are you working towards? How focused are you? One of the most repeated expressions in the Bible is do not be afraid. Fear not. I'm going to end with that, as I want each of you to fall asleep with no fear, with a refreshed mind to wake up in the morning and not carrying all the fears and insecurities that you do. We are all children of God, chosen specifically by him to carry out a mission, just like Jacob had his mission. And unbeknownst to him, his mission was detoured for 7 years. But that had to be done. God moves in mysterious ways.